What if the person wearing your face was the one trying to erase you? On a rainy night above Chicago, Lena Whitaker sat alone in a rooftop restaurant dressed in ivory, pretending her hands were not shaking beneath the table. She had spent her whole life being the quiet twin, the easy target the woman people looked through instead of at. Then her sister walked in with a smile sharp enough to cut glass and poured red wine down the front of her dress. The room went silent. Lena did too. But from the shadows, Nico Moretti, the most dangerous man in the city, saw what everyone else missed. This is not just a story about revenge. It is about identity power, love, and the moment a woman stops apologizing for surviving. Stay with me until the end and like this video. Comment where you're watching from. To understand why Lena did not scream that night, you have to see the rooms that taught her silence. 3 days before the red wine touched her dress, Lena Whitaker stood alone inside the Art Institute of Chicago after closing, surrounded by paintings that had survived war's fires, careless hands and rich people with too much confidence. The museum was quieter at night. Not peaceful exactly, but honest. No tourists leaning too close to the canvases. No donors laughing with champagne breath. No school groups dragging their fingers along velvet ropes. Just the soft hum of climate control, the pale glow of security lights, and the old patient faces staring out from their frames. Lena loved the museum after dark. In daylight, she moved through it like a guest in her own life. She kept her head slightly lowered. Her voice measured her smile, polite enough to avoid questions. But at night, when the marble floors reflected empty halls and every footstep seemed to belong to memory, she could breathe. She stood over a long table in the conservation prep room, wearing cotton gloves and a navy cardigan buttoned all the way to her throat. Before her lay a collection of small American Impressionist sketches recently donated by a family from Lake Forest. Loose studies mostly. Trees, lake water, a woman's hand resting on a windowsill, children blurred into summer light. The sketches were fragile. Some had water stains at the corners. One had a tear so thin it looked like a vein. Lena bent closer, examining the paper beneath a soft lamp. Her dark hair slipped forward and she tucked it behind one ear without looking away. "Most people miss this," a voice said from the doorway. Lena flinched. Her shoulder struck the edge of the table and one gloved hand flew to her chest. "Dr. Helen Marsh!" Her supervisor stood there with a paper cup of coffee and an apologetic expression. "I'm sorry," Helen said. "I thought you heard me come in." Lena forced a small smile. "It's okay. I was focused." Helen stepped inside, careful not to come too close to the sketches. She was in her late 50s, silver-haired, sharp-eyed, the kind of woman who could silence a boardroom with one raised eyebrow. To Lena, Helen had always felt like a lighthouse, distant, steady, impossible to fool. "What did I miss?" Helen asked. Lena looked back at the sketch. The hand. Helen moved nearer. The hand Lena pointed without touching. The rest of the page is loose. Fast lines, almost careless. But the hand is different. He slowed down here. See the pressure, the curve of the thumb. He wasn't sketching a model. He knew her. Helen studied it for a moment. Then she smiled. "You have an eye, Lena." Lena looked down too quickly. Praise always felt like a hot light on her face. Helen noticed, but she did not push. "You see what other people miss? That's easier than being seen," Lena said before she could stop herself. The words sat between them. Lena wished she could take them back and fold them into one of the archive boxes. Seal the lid, label them properly, and pretend they belong to someone else. Helen's voice softened. "Is everything all right?" Lena reached for the condition report. "Yes, just tired." It was the answer she gave when the truth had teeth. Helen did not believe her. She also did not embarrass her by saying so. "Go home soon," Helen said. No painting is worth you falling asleep on the red line. Lena nodded. I just want to finish this page. Helen lingered another second, then left with her coffee, her footsteps fading down the hall. Lena exhaled slowly. Her phone buzzed. The sound cut through the quiet like a blade. She knew who it was before she looked. Sloan. The screen lit up with a message. Don't wear blue tomorrow. It makes you look washed out. Lena stared at it. Her thumb hovered over the screen. Another message appeared. And don't do that thing where you over-explain your job. Men hate that. A third. Maya told me about the date. Try not to embarrass us. Lena closed her eyes. There it was, that small word. Us. Sloan had always used it like a leash. They were twins, identical enough that strangers still stared when they stood side by side. Same gray-blue eyes, same dark hair, same heart-shaped face, same mouth, at least in shape. But Sloan had learned how to turn that mouth into a weapon. Lena had learned how to press hers shut. When they were little, people called them mirror girls. At birthday parties, adults asked them to stand together for pictures. Teachers mixed them up. Their mother dressed them in matching outfits until they were 12 and old enough to hate it in different ways. Sloan loved the attention. Lena loved the moments after when everyone forgot to look. Her phone buzzed again. Seriously, Lena, don't try to become me tomorrow. Lena placed the phone face down on the table. The sketches waited beneath the lamp, gentle and patient. She wished paper could give advice. She trusted old paper more than most living people. By the time she finished the condition notes, snow had begun to drift against the museum windows, fine and silver softening Michigan Avenue into a blur of headlights and wet pavement. Lena packed her bag, locked the files, and walked through the gallery one last time. She paused before a portrait of a woman in a black dress. The woman looked straight out of the frame. Chin-lifted fingers relaxed against her lap. She seemed calm, but not soft. Beautiful, but not available, as if the painter had caught her in the exact second before she decided whether to forgive someone. Lena stood there longer than she meant to. You look like you know who you are, she whispered. The woman did not answer. Outside, Chicago was cold enough to bite. Lena pulled her coat tight and walked toward the train station with her bag pressed against her ribs. The city moved around her in sharp sounds. Brakes hissed. A man cursed into his phone. A woman in red boots laughed as she stepped over a slush puddle. Somewhere, a siren rose and disappeared between the buildings. Lena liked Chicago because it did not ask permission to be itself. The wind shoved against skyscrapers. The lake turned violent without apology. Even the alleys seemed to have opinions. She envied that. At her apartment in Wicker Park, she found a package waiting outside her door. No return address. Her name written in Sloane's perfect slanted handwriting. Lena stood in the hallway, keys still in her hand. Her neighbor's television murmured behind a wall. Someone upstairs dropped something heavy. The radiator clanked like an old man clearing his throat. Lena picked up the package and brought it inside. Her apartment was small, narrow, and crowded with books. Art catalogs were stacked beside the couch. A half-dead basil plant leaned toward the kitchen window. On the wall above her desk hung 3 blank canvases she had bought 2 years ago during a burst of reckless hope. They were still blank. She set the package on the table and opened it carefully. Inside was a dress. Ivory. Simple. Elegant. More expensive than anything Lena would have bought for herself. There was a note. For your date, since you were probably going to dress like a substitute teacher. Lena held the dress by its straps and stared. It was beautiful. That was the cruel part. Sloan never gave ugly gifts. Ugly would have made it too easy to refuse. Lena's phone rang. Maya. Lena answered on the second ring. Please tell me you are not canceling, Maya said without greeting. Lena looked at the dress. Hello to you too. I know that voice. What voice? The voice of a woman preparing to fake food poisoning. Lena sat on the edge of the couch. I'm not faking anything. Good. Because Evan is nice. You keep saying that like nice is a personality. In Chicago, nice is a luxury item. Despite herself, Lena smiled. Maya Collins had been Lena's best friend since college, when Maya found her crying in the laundry room because Sloan had shown up at a campus party wearing Lena's sweater and kissing the boy Lena liked against the stairwell wall. Maya had handed Lena a bottle of water and said, Your sister has the emotional range of a tax audit. Lena had laughed so hard she hiccuped. They had been friends ever since. Maya was bold in every place Lena was careful. She wore bright lipstick to morning meetings. She sent back bad coffee. She argued with parking signs as if the city itself could be reasoned with. She loved Lena fiercely, but sometimes love made her impatient. You don't have to marry him, Maya said. Just sit at a table and let a man ask you questions without assuming he has been sent by your sister to ruin your life. Lena went quiet. Maya sighed. Sorry, too much no. Accurate. I just want you to have one night that belongs to you. Lena touched the ivory dress. Sloan sent me something to wear. The silence on the line changed. Throw it away, Maya said. It's expensive. That is not a moral argument. It's also pretty. That is how she gets you. Lena looked across the room at the blank canvases. I know. Then don't wear it. Lena should have agreed. She should have put the dress back in the box and left it outside Sloan's building like a dead bird. Instead, she ran her thumb over the fabric. I might, she said softly. Lena. I know. I know. No, I don't think you do. She gives you things so she can say she made you presentable. She hurts you and then hands you lipstick. Lena closed her eyes. That was true. But truth did not always make a person stronger. Sometimes it only named the cage. I'll think about it, Lena said. Maya exhaled. Fine. But promise me you'll go. Lena hesitated. Lena, I'll go. And promise me you'll stay at least 30 minutes. Maya. 30 minutes. You can survive anything for 30 minutes. You survived my experimental vegan chili phase. That nearly killed me. But it didn't. See, strong woman? Lena laughed, and for a moment the apartment felt warmer. After they hung up, Lena carried the dress to her bedroom and hung it on the closet door. It glowed softly in the low light, innocent as fresh snow. She hated that she wanted to wear it. She hated more that she could already hear Sloane's voice if she did not. You looked awful because you never listen. That night, Lena dreamed of being 12 years old in her mother's kitchen, watching Sloane drop a glass on the floor and burst into tears before anyone asked what happened. Their mother rushed in. Their father followed. Sloane pointed at Lena. She scared me. Sloane sobbed. Lena remembered standing there with a sandwich in her hand, too stunned to speak. Her mother looked tired. Her father looked disappointed. Lena, he said, why can't you two just get along? That sentence became the wallpaper of her childhood. Why can't you two get along? Not Sloane. Why did you lie? Not Lena. Are you okay? Just peace at any cost. And Lena was always the cheaper price. The next morning she woke before her alarm with her jaw aching. Snow had turned to rain. Water crawled down the window in uneven lines. At work, Lena tried to disappear into tasks. She answered emails, checked shipment logs, reviewed donor notes. She almost managed a normal morning until noon when she stepped into the staff break room and saw Sloane on the television mounted near the vending machines. Not in person. Worse, on a local lifestyle segment. Sloane sat on a pale sofa in a blush-colored suit, legs crossed, smile perfect. The caption beneath her name read Personal Brand Consultant and Women's Confidence Coach. Lena stood frozen with her coffee in her hand. Sloane was speaking warmly about boundaries. Women are taught to shrink, Sloane said to the host. We are taught to apologize for wanting space, wanting beauty, wanting success. I always tell my clients, stop dimming yourself to make other people comfortable. The host nodded as if receiving scripture. Lena's coffee burned her palm through the paper cup. A younger staff member glanced at the screen, then at Lena. Is that your sister, Lena? Forced a smile. Yes, she's amazing. You two look exactly alike. No, Lena thought. We don't. But she said, people say that. On television, Sloane laughed gently. My twin sister is very private. I always joke that I got all the spotlight genes. The host laughed. The staff member smiled at Lena. That's cute. Lena looked down into her coffee. Cute. That was another word people used when they did not want to look closer. After lunch, Helen found Lena in the archival storage room pretending to check humidity readings. I saw your sister on TV, Helen said. Lena adjusted a dial that did not need adjusting. A lot of people did. Helen came to stand beside her. Do you want to talk about it? No. A pause. Then Helen said, all right. Lena appreciated her for that. Some people kicked at locked doors and called it concern. Helen simply stood nearby and let Lena keep the key. The rest of the day passed in fragments. A donor complained about a delayed catalog note. A visitor tried to bring coffee into a gallery. Lena found a mislabeled crate in storage and corrected it with such intense focus that she forgot to eat. At 5:30, Maya texted her. 7:30. Don't be late. Don't overthink. Don't let Sloane into your head rent-free. Lena replied. Too late for that, Maya sent back. Then raise the rent. Lena smiled despite herself. She left work early, went home showered, and stood in front of the ivory dress for a full 10 minutes. Then she put it on. The woman in the mirror looked like Lena, but softer around the edges. The dress skimmed her body without clinging. Her collarbones looked delicate, almost brave. She wore her hair low at the nape of her neck and fastened her pearl earrings with careful fingers. For one dangerous second, she liked what she saw. Then her phone buzzed. Sloane. Send me a picture before you leave. Lena stared at the message. She typed, no. Deleted it. Typed, I'm busy. Deleted that too. Then she turned the phone face down. It rang immediately. Lena did not answer. It rang again. She picked up her coat, grabbed her bag, and left the apartment before the third call could start. The rooftop restaurant sat high above the Gold Coast, all glass and candlelight, the kind of place where the flowers looked flown in and the menus had no prices. Lena arrived 10 minutes early because anxiety always made her punctual. A hostess with smooth blonde hair led her to a corner table near the windows. Your party has not arrived yet, the hostess said. That's okay. Would you like something to drink? Water, please? The hostess smiled and left. Lena sat down carefully, smoothing the dress beneath her. Beyond the glass, Chicago glittered in the rain. Cars moved below like red and white blood cells through the city's veins. Lake Michigan stretched into darkness, restless and unseen. She checked the time. 7:23. Her date was not late yet. She placed her phone beside the water glass screen down. It vibrated against the table. Once. Twice. Again. She did not look. At a nearby table, a woman laughed too loudly at something a man said. A server poured wine with a white cloth folded over one arm. Forks touched plates in small silver notes. Somewhere behind the bar, ice rattled into a shaker. Lena tried to breathe in counts of 4. Inhale, hold, exhale. She imagined Maya's voice. You sit down. You order pasta. You ask him about his childhood trauma like every other woman in Chicago." Lena almost laughed. Then the elevator doors opened across the restaurant. A group entered first, 2 men in suits, a woman in emerald silk, then another man, tall and dark-haired, moving with the calm weight of someone used to rooms making space for him. Lena did not know his name yet, but she noticed the reaction. A server straightened. The hostess lowered her voice. A man at the bar looked over, then quickly looked away. The dark-haired man spoke briefly to someone beside him, his face half turned toward the windows. For 1 second his gaze moved across the room and touched Lena's table. Not lingered. Touched, like a match struck in a dark hall. Lena looked down at once. Her phone vibrated again. This time irritation rose through her fear. She flipped it over. Sloan had sent 6 messages. "Are you ignoring me? That dress better not be wrinkled. Where are you sitting? Who is he? Lena, answer me. Do not make me come there." The last message seemed to lower the temperature around her. "Do not make me come there." Lena's fingers went cold. She looked toward the elevator. Nothing. No Sloan. Just strangers. Candlelight. Rain on glass. She told herself not to be ridiculous. Sloan had clients, events, cameras, men who bought her drinks and women who believed her speeches about confidence. Sloan would not waste her evening just to ruin Lena's. Then Lena remembered every birthday candle Sloan had blown out, first every secret she had repeated, every apology she had forced Lena to give for things Lena had not done. Yes, she would. A server appeared with water. "Are you ready to order, or would you like to wait?" "I'll wait," Lena said. Her voice sounded thinner than she meant it to. The server nodded and walked away. 7:35. Evan had not arrived. Lena sent Maya a message. "I'm here." "He isn't," Maya replied almost instantly. "Traffic. Breathe. You look gorgeous. I know because I have faith and also because Sloan has terrible motives but excellent taste." Lena let out a quiet laugh. Then she heard it. A familiar laugh near the entrance. Bright. Musical. Practiced. Lena did not look up right away. Her body already knew. The elevator doors had opened again and the air in the restaurant shifted around a woman who entered as if every room owed her attention. Sloan Whitaker wore a black satin dress, red lipstick, and the kind of smile that never reached anything human. In her right hand she held a glass of red wine. Lena sat very still. The city moved below. The rain slid down the windows. Somewhere near the private dining room, the dark-haired man in the black suit turned his head as if he had heard a sound no one else could hear. Sloan saw Lena and smiled. That smile became the red stain Lena would remember long after the dress was gone. It happened exactly the way fear always told her it would. Sloan crossed the restaurant slowly, letting people notice her first. She kissed the air beside a woman's cheek, accepted a compliment from a man at the bar, and moved through candlelight as if every flame had been lit for her. Then she stopped at Lena's table. "Lena," she said, her voice bright enough for the nearby tables to hear, "please tell me you are not waiting for someone." Lena's fingers tightened around the napkin in her lap. "Not now, Sloan." "Oh, sweetheart." Sloan tilted her head. "That tone only works when you have a spine." A few people looked over. One woman pretended not to. A man near the window lowered his fork and watched with the open curiosity of someone grateful the disaster was not his. Lena stood because sitting made her feel trapped. "I'm leaving," she said. Sloan stepped into her path. "That's what you do best." The glass in Sloan's hand tipped before Lena could move. Red wine spilled down the front of the ivory dress. It was cold first, then humiliating. Then everything inside Lena went quiet. The stain spread over her chest like a wound. A drop slid down her wrist. Someone gasped. Someone else whispered. The restaurant, only seconds ago alive with money and noise, seemed to hold its breath. Sloane leaned close. "You were always better as a warning than a woman." Lena tried to speak, but shame had weight. It sat on her tongue, pressed against her lungs, pulled her eyes to the floor. Then a man's voice came from the other side of the room. "You poured red on the wrong woman." The words were calm. That made them worse. Sloane turned. So did everyone else. The dark-haired man from the private dining room stood near the entrance, one hand in his pocket, his black suit cut so precisely he looked less dressed than armed. The room knew him before Lena did. She could feel it in the sudden stiffness of backs, the way servers lowered their eyes, the way conversations died without being asked. Nico Moretti. She had never met him, but she had heard the name in pieces. A shipping empire, riverfront property, nightclubs, court cases that dissolved before trial. Men who owed him money and smiled too hard when they said he was a businessman. He walked toward Lena without hurry. Sloane recovered first. She laughed softly, but the sound came out wrong. "This is private." Nico removed his coat and placed it around Lena's shoulders. He did not touch her skin, not even by accident. Lena noticed because no one careful had ever come to her rescue before. Nico looked at Sloane. "No," he said. "It was private before you made it a performance." Sloane's smile sharpened. "You don't even know which twin she is." Nico's eyes did not leave Lena's face. "I know exactly which one she is." Something in Lena cracked, not from pain, but from disbelief. Nico lowered his voice. "Do you want to leave no command, no assumption?" Just a door opened. Lena nodded once. Nico turned his head slightly. A large man near the bar moved at once, speaking into his sleeve. Within seconds, the elevator doors opened and no one stood between Lena and escape. As she passed Sloane, her sister whispered, "This is not over." Lena did not answer. For the first time in her life, someone else did. Nico stopped beside Sloane and said, "For your sake, it should be." Then he guided Lena out without touching her. The elevator ride down was silent except for rain ticking against the glass shaft as the city dropped around them. Lena stood wrapped in Nico's coat, the red wine hidden but not erased. Her hands shook inside the sleeves. When the elevator opened into a private parking level, a black car waited with the engine running. Lena stopped. Nico noticed instantly. "Not my home," he said. She looked at him. "You looked like you were deciding whether to run," he said. "I was." Good instinct. That surprised her enough to make her blink. He opened the rear door but did not move closer. "There is a private room beneath one of my clubs. You can change. Then my driver takes you anywhere you want." Why Nico's gaze moved over her face with unsettling precision. Not hungry, not soft, but furious in a way that seemed older than tonight. Because nobody in that room was going to help you. Lena looked away. That was true. It made her hate the city for a second. Not because it was cruel, but because it had watched. The club was in River North, hidden behind a narrow entrance with no sign, only a brass number beside a black door. Downstairs, jazz moved through brick walls. A woman sang about a love that had ruined her and still sounded grateful for it. Nico led Lena through a back corridor where men in dark suits stepped aside without speaking. Inside a small private room, a woman with short copper hair waited with a garment bag, bottled water, and a first aid kit. "This is Grace," Nico said. "She handles security." Grace looked Lena over with sharp, kind eyes. And occasionally, emergency fashion. Lena almost smiled. "Almost." Nico placed his phone on a side table. "I'll be outside." "You don't have to guard the door," Lena said. "I'm not guarding you from leaving." The answer landed quietly. He stepped out. Grace unzipped the garment bag. Black sweater, soft pants, socks. Nothing weird. No offense, but rich men are strange, and I try not to contribute. Lena gave a small, broken laugh. Grace smiled. There she is. When Lena changed, she did it slowly, as if removing the dress might remove some layer of skin. The ivory fabric clung where the wine had dried. She folded it without thinking, then stopped angry at herself for treating ruined things gently. Grace saw. Want me to throw it away? Lena stared at the dress. No, she said, not yet. When she stepped back into the hall, Nico was alone. He looked at the ruined dress over her arm, then at her face. Did she hurt you anywhere else? The question was too direct. Lena tightened her grip on the dress. Do you rescue strange women often? Only when someone tries to break them in public. I wasn't broken. No, he said. You were trained not to make a sound. The hallway seemed to tilt. Lena took one step back. You don't know me? No. Then don't talk like you do. Nico accepted that without flinching. Fair. That bothered her more than if he had argued. A driver took her home in silence. Nico did not come with her. He did not ask for her number. He did not make promises. He simply stood outside the club in the rain until the car turned the corner, his black shirt open at the throat, his coat still around her shoulders. The next morning, Lena woke on her couch with every light in the apartment on. Her phone showed 37 missed calls from Sloan. There were messages too stacked like stones. You embarrassed me. You always do this. He looked at you because he felt sorry for you. Do not confuse pity with desire. The final message was a voicemail. Lena should have deleted it. Instead, she pressed play. Sloane's voice filled the apartment, soft and poisonous. You think he chose you? Men like Nico Moretti do not choose girls like you, Lena. They collect broken things. They put them on a shelf. Then they get bored. Call me when you are done pretending this is love. Lena set the phone down. The word love felt absurd, dangerous, impossible. She had known Nico for less than an hour. Still, Sloane sounded afraid. That was new. By noon, Maya arrived with coffee bagels and rage. She took one look at the wine-ruined dress on Lena's kitchen chair and said, I am going to jail. No, you're not. I can make friends in jail. Maya. I am charming under pressure. Lena sat at the table wrapped in Nico's coat. It still smelled faintly of cedar rain and expensive smoke. Maya noticed. Is that his? Lena looked down. He put it around me. And did he say something terrifying but attractive? Lena tried not to smile. Maya pointed at her. He did. Of course he did. Men like that always speak in weaponized poetry. He asked if I wanted to leave. Maya's face softened. Oh, that one word held more understanding than any speech. For 2 days, Lena did not return the coat. She told herself she was busy. She told herself she needed to have it cleaned first. She told herself Nico Moretti had forgotten about her the moment his driver pulled away from her building. On the 3rd day, a black town car stopped outside her apartment. Matteo Russo got out. Lena recognized him as the man who had cleared the elevator. Broad shoulders, dark beard expression like a locked gate. He carried a garment bag. Miss Whitaker, he said. Lena opened the door only as far as the chain allowed. How did you know where I live? Matteo did not blink. My boss knows many things. He also knows that answer makes him sound guilty, so he asked me to say your address was on the restaurant reservation. That sounds rehearsed. It was. She stared at him. Matteo held up the garment bag. Your dress. Cleaned. The stain did not come out all the way. Something in Lena twisted. Why bring it back? Because he said it belongs to you. Inside the garment bag, folded carefully, was the ivory dress. The red stain remained faintly visible, softer now, like a bruise under skin. There was also a note. You left with my coat because you needed it. Return it only if you want to see me again. N. M. Maya read it over Lena's shoulder that evening and whispered, "That is either romantic or evidence." Lena folded the note. "You already said that about men with initials, and I remain correct. I'm returning the coat." "Because you want closure." Lena did not answer. Maya's eyes narrowed. "You want to see him. I want to return his property." Lena: "It's an expensive coat. So is therapy, but you avoid that too." The next afternoon, Lena walked into Moretti Harbor Logistics with the coat folded over her arm and her heart performing poorly under pressure. The building stood along the Chicago River, glass and steel catching the winter light. Inside the lobby smelled of polished stone and money. A receptionist looked up, heard Lena's name, and immediately called upstairs. No waiting. That frightened Lena more than rudeness might have. Nico's office occupied the top floor. It was not what she expected. No gold, no vulgar proof of wealth. Dark wood shelves, large windows, a desk with nothing out of place. One painting on the wall behind him showed Lake Michigan during a storm, the water black-green, the sky torn open with light. Nico stood when she entered. Again, no surprise on his face. Just attention. Miss Whitaker, Mr. Moretti. His mouth moved slightly, not quite a smile. That sounds like a deposition. It feels like one. Should I be worried? Probably. She held out the coat. He did not take it right away. Did you want to see me again? Lena hated the heat that rose in her face. I wanted to return this. That was not the question. No, she said. It wasn't. The answer pleased him more than agreement. He took the coat and laid it over the back of a chair. Lena looked at the painting because it was safer than looking at him. That's not decorative, she said. Nico turned. No. It's too lonely. He studied her. Most men, when told something true by surprise, tried to laugh it off. Nico did not. What is it then? Lena stepped closer to the painting. Grief. The room became very still. Most people say it is expensive, Nico said. Most people are afraid of quiet things. And you are not. Lena looked at the dark water in the painting. I am afraid of plenty. Nico's voice lowered. Your sister is one of them. Lena stiffened. There it was. The door she did not want opened. She is cruel, Lena said. That is not the same as dangerous. Nico came around the desk but stopped several feet away. Cruel people become dangerous when cruelty stops working. You sound certain. I am. You do not know her. I know people who need control more than air. Lena turned from the painting. And what do you need? His eyes held hers. Order. That sounds like control with better manners. This time he did smile. Maybe. A strange quiet stretched between them, charged and uneasy. Then his office door opened. Matteo stepped in. Boss. Nico's expression changed by a fraction. Matteo looked at Lena, then back at Nico. She is downstairs. Lena felt the blood leave her face. Nico did not ask who. Sloane. In the lobby, Sloane Whitaker stood dressed like Lena. Not exactly. That would have been too obvious. But close enough to make the point. Soft beige coat, minimal makeup, hair pinned low, pearl earrings, a performance of gentleness. Nico watched the security feed from his office screen. Lena stood beside him, cold from the inside out. Sloane smiled at the receptionist and touched her throat in a nervous little gesture Lena recognized because it belonged to her. She is copying me, Lena whispered. Nico's jaw tightened. On the screen, Sloane said something. The receptionist picked up the phone. Nico pressed a button on his desk. "Send her up." Lena looked at him sharply. "What? She came to be seen." "I don't want to see her. You do not have to." He looked at Mateo. "Take Miss Whitaker to the private conference room. Audio only if she chooses." "I am not hiding," Lena said. Nico looked at her. "Then stay." Sloane entered Nico's office with Lena's face and none of Lena's fear. Her eyes flicked to Lena, then away as if she had expected her to be gone. "Nico," Sloane said softly, "I wanted to apologize for the other night. I was nervous. I behaved badly." Lena stared at her. Nico leaned against the edge of his desk. "You are apologizing to me." Sloane's smile held. "To both of you, of course." "No," he said. "You came here because you thought she would not be here." A flicker. Tiny, but there. Sloane gave a breathy laugh. "I think there has been some confusion. Not on my part." She turned the softness higher. "Lena and I have always had a complicated relationship. She sometimes misunderstands me." Lena's hands curled. Nico's voice stayed calm. "Lena apologizes with her shoulders before her mouth. You walked in expecting applause." Sloane went still. The mask did not fall. It hardened. "You think you know her, no? Then why are you so interested?" Nico looked at Lena before answering. "Because I know what it looks like when someone has been taught to disappear." Sloane laughed, but this time it was ugly. "You rich men are all the same. You see a damaged girl and think your attention is medicine." Lena found her voice. "And what do you see, Sloane?" Her sister turned slowly. For 1 second they were children again. Same kitchen, same glass on the floor, same lie waiting to be believed. Sloane smiled. "I see my sister making another embarrassing mistake." Nico pushed away from the desk. "That is enough." Sloane looked back at him. "You do not scare me." Mateo, standing near the door, made a low sound that might have been amusement. Nico's expression did not change. "That is your first mistake." Sloane left with her chin high, but her hands were shaking. Lena saw. That should have felt good. It did not. By the time Lena reached the elevator, anger had replaced shock. She turned on Nico. "You knew she might come." "I suspected. And you let me stand there. You said you were not hiding. That is not the same as being used." His eyes sharpened. "I did not use you. You made a scene where you could study her. I wanted to see how far she would go. And I was convenient." Nico went quiet. "Good," Lena thought. "Be quiet. Listen. I have had one person making decisions around me my entire life," she said. "I do not need another one with better suits." The elevator doors opened. Nico did not move to stop her. "You are right," he said. Lena looked back. "That's it. You want excuses? Ask weaker men." The words should have irritated her. Instead, they disarmed something. He continued, voice lower. "I am sorry. Not because you are angry, because I crossed a line and called it protection." Lena swallowed. No one in her family apologized like that. No performance, no blame folded inside, no demand for forgiveness. She stepped into the elevator. "Do not do it again." "I will try not to. Try harder." The doors closed between them. That evening, Lena returned to her apartment feeling scraped raw. She wanted quiet. Tea. A shower hot enough to erase the day. The hallway light outside her unit flickered. At first, she thought nothing of it. Then she saw her door. Not open, just not closed properly. A thin black line where the latch had not caught. Lena stopped breathing. She pushed the door with 2 fingers. It swung inward. Nothing was missing. That was worse. Her books had been moved, not thrown. Moved. arranged by color across the floor. Her kitchen cabinet stood open. Her perfume bottle sat in the sink. Her laptop glowed on the desk, and her sketchbook lay open beneath the lamp. Lena walked toward it with her pulse in her throat. Every blank page had been torn out. Only one page remained, a message written in red lipstick. He will learn which twin deserves to be loved. For a moment, the room had no air. Then Lena reached for her phone. Her hand shook, but her voice did not when Nico answered. She was here, Lena said. The silence on the line was instant and absolute. Are you hurt? No. Leave the apartment. I am not running. Lena. She looked at the ruined sketchbook, at the red words shining wet under the lamp. I said, I am not running. Nico's voice changed, not louder, but darker. Then open your door. A knock sounded at the same second. Lena turned. Through the peephole, Matteo stood in the hallway, one hand inside his jacket, eyes scanning everything. Behind him, the city moved on, careless and bright. Inside Lena's apartment, red lipstick gleamed like a promise. The red lipstick on the page looked almost wet, as if Sloane had written it seconds before Lena opened the door. Matteo stepped inside first. He did not touch anything. He only looked. The open cabinets, the books arranged by color across the floor, the laptop glowing on Lena's desk, the empty spaces where the torn sketchbook pages had been. His face did not change, but the air around him did. Stay by the door, he said. Lena did not move. Her eyes stayed on the sketchbook. He will learn which twin deserves to be loved. The words seemed childish at first. Petty, dramatic, almost ridiculous. Then Lena noticed the lipstick was hers, not Sloane's. Hers. The tube had been taken from the little ceramic bowl beside her bathroom sink, the one with the blue crack through the side. Sloane had stood in Lena's apartment, opened Lena's things, touched Lena's mirror, Lena's clothes, Lena's bed, and written that sentence with something Lena had once bought for herself on a rare day when she wanted to feel pretty. That was when her knees weakened. Matteo caught it before she fully swayed. Not by grabbing her, but by holding out one steady arm close enough for her to choose. Lena hated that she chose it, only for a second. Then she let go. I'm fine, she said. Matteo looked at the ruined sketchbook. No, you're standing. Those are different things. Nico arrived 12 minutes later. Lena knew because she watched the clock on the microwave while pretending not to wait for him. When he entered, the apartment became too small for him. Not because he was loud. Nico Moretti was never loud. He was worse than loud. He was controlled. He carried violence like a sealed letter, something private and already decided. His eyes moved over the room once. Then to Lena. Did she touch you? No. Did you see anyone? No. Did the building cameras catch her? Matteo answered. Hallway camera was disabled 20 minutes before Lena came home. Front entrance camera looped. Lena looked at him. Looped. Someone replaced the live feed with old footage. She stared at the open laptop. Sloane cannot do that. Nico's gaze sharpened. No, but she can pay someone who can. Lena wrapped her arms around herself. I want to call the police. Then call. She expected him to argue. He did not. That made the call harder. The officers arrived nearly an hour later, 2 men in dark blue coats with tired eyes and snow melting on their boots. They were polite. They asked questions. They took photographs. One of them wrote slowly in a little notebook, while the other glanced at Nico, then Matteo, then back at Lena with a careful expression that said he knew exactly who stood in her apartment, and wished he did not. Was anything stolen? The older officer asked. My sketchbook pages. Anything of value? Lena looked at him. Those were of value. He nodded too quickly. Of course. I mean, money value. No. No forced entry. No. Could your sister have had a key? She was not supposed to. The younger officer looked around the apartment. Family situations can get complicated. Lena felt the sentence slide under her skin. Family situation. That was what people called harm when they wanted it to sound smaller. Nico stood near the window, silent. The officer continued. We can file a report. Without clear footage or evidence of forced entry, it may be difficult to prove who entered. She wrote a threat, Lena said. With your lipstick, the officer replied gently. We will document it. Lena looked at the red words again. Document. A soft little word for being hunted. When the police left the apartment, felt less safe than before they came. Nico turned to her. You cannot stay here tonight. I know. You can stay at one of my places. No. His jaw tightened. Lena. I said no. Matteo looked away, suddenly very interested in the window. Nico held her gaze. Then choose somewhere else. Maya's. A hotel. The museum basement. I do not care, but not here. Lena wanted to resist just because he sounded right. That was how tired she was. She had spent so many years obeying Sloane that even good advice felt like a trap if it came from a strong voice. I'll go to Maya's, she said. Nico nodded once. Matteo will drive you. I can take a cab. No. The word landed hard. Lena's eyes flashed. Nico caught himself. His shoulders shifted almost nothing but enough. Please, he said. Let Matteo drive you. That one word changed the shape of the room. Lena looked at the sketchbook, then at the door, then at her own shaking hands. All right. Maya opened her apartment door in sweatpants and fury. She pulled Lena inside and hugged her so tightly Lena could barely breathe. I should have known, Maya whispered into her hair. I should have seen how bad it was. Lena stood stiff at first. Then the stiffness broke. She pressed her face into Maya's shoulder. I didn't want anyone to know, Lena said. I know. No, I mean I really didn't. Because if people knew and still nothing changed, then it would be worse. Maya pulled back, her eyes wet. I pushed you into that date. You did not pour the wine. I put you in the room. Sloane hurts me in every room. Maya covered her mouth with one hand. Lena almost apologized for making her cry. Then she did not. That was new. The next morning, the museum placed Lena on administrative leave. The email came at 9:12, crisp and professional, with words like concern integrity, donor, confidence, and temporary review. Helen called 2 minutes later. Lena, she said, voice low, I need you to listen to me before you panic. Too late, Lena thought. She sat at Maya's kitchen table while Maya stood across from her in a robe reading the email over her shoulder with growing disbelief. Helen continued. Several anonymous complaints were sent to the board last night. They claim you accessed donor records for personal reasons. There are screenshots. I did not. I know. Lena closed her eyes. Helen's voice softened. I know you did not. But there is a process now, and until I can prove it, they want you away from the collection. Away from the collection. The museum had been the one place Sloane could not enter because Sloane did not understand reverence. She understood attention. She understood applause. But she did not understand the quiet devotion of preserving something fragile because it mattered. Now she had reached in and touched that too. After the call, Lena sat very still. Maya began pacing. This is insane. This is criminal. This is lawsuit territory. This is my villain origin story. Lena looked at her phone. There was a message from an unknown number. You never should have brought him into this. Attached was a photo of Lena entering Nico's office the day before. Her stomach turned. She called Nico. He answered on the first ring. She got to the museum, Lena said. I know. The words made her freeze. You know Grace flagged the emails this morning. They came through layered accounts. Not clean, but not sloppy either. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was waiting until we knew more. I lost my job. You are on leave. Not fired. That is not comfort. No, he said. It is not. She heard voices behind him. A door closing movement. Nico. Yes. I need to know everything. Not after you decide I can handle it. Now. A pause. Then he said, Come to the South Loop address Mateo is sending you. Grace will show you. The address led to an old theater converted into private residences. Its entrance was tucked beneath a faded marquee, the kind that once held movie titles in black letters. Inside the lobby smelled faintly of dust, rain, and old velvet. Nico met her upstairs. The apartment was wide and quiet, with high ceilings, brick walls, and tall windows looking out over the tracks. Trains passed in the distance, their metal rhythm low and mournful. Grace sat at a table covered with laptops, printed screenshots, phone records, and coffee cups. She looked up. Your sister is busy. Lena sat down. Grace turned one laptop toward her. The emails to the museum came from fake accounts. The screenshots were altered. Not perfectly. Whoever did it knows enough to scare people, not enough to survive me. Who is helping her? Grace clicked a file open. A man's photo appeared. Thin face, pale eyes, expensive haircut. Brent Keller, private investigator. Mostly divorce work, insurance fraud, corporate stalking for people who say they are just gathering information. Lena stared at him. I do not know him. He knows you, Grace said, or he has been paid to. She opened another folder. Photos appeared. Lena leaving work. Lena entering her apartment building. Lena at the train station. Lena outside Maya's place with a coffee in one hand. The room tilted. Nico moved but stopped before reaching for her. Lena noticed that too. She forced herself to keep looking. How long, she asked. Grace's voice lost its edge. At least 3 weeks. Lena's mouth went dry. Before the restaurant. Nico's expression darkened. Grace nodded. Before the restaurant. That changed the shape of everything. The wine had not been impulse. The humiliation had not been a burst of temper. It had been part of something already moving. Lena stood too quickly and walked toward the windows. A train slid past below silver and streaked with grime. For a moment she watched the passengers through lit windows, strangers moving through their own evenings untouched by her life. Nico came to stand several feet away. I am going to find him, he said. Lena looked at his reflection in the glass. And do what his silence answered. She turned. No. Lena. No. If you hurt him in some basement, she gets to keep being the poor, worried sister with the unstable twin. She will cry on camera. She will say I fell in with dangerous people. She will make you the proof. Nico's eyes stayed on hers. Then what do you want? I want evidence. Grace lifted one hand from the table. Finally, someone speaking my love language. For the first time that day, Lena almost smiled. That night, Nico insisted she stay at the theater apartment. Lena almost refused on principle, but exhaustion made her honest. Maya came over with clothes and takeout, then left after threatening Nico in a tone so bright it took a second to recognize as serious. If anything happens to her here, Maya said, pointing a plastic fork at him, I do not care who you are. I will become a problem with earrings. Nico looked at Lena. She always like this, worse when rested. Maya kissed Lena's cheek and left. Later, Lena found Nico in the small kitchen making coffee he did not seem to want. He had removed his suit jacket. His sleeves were rolled to his forearms. Without the full armor of his clothes, he looked younger and more tired. On the counter beside him sat a framed photograph of a girl with Nico's dark eyes and a wide, reckless smile. Lena looked at it. Your sister Nico did not answer right away. Alessia, he said finally. Lena waited. He picked up the photograph not tenderly but carefully, like it had sharp edges. She was 19, loud, stubborn. Thought rules were insults. She trusted a man she should not have trusted. Lena felt the words before she understood them. What happened? Nico set the frame down. I saw pieces of it. Not enough at first. A bruise she explained away. A change in her voice. How she stopped singing in the car. His jaw worked once. I was busy becoming feared. I thought that meant I was protecting my family. Lena said nothing. She left Chicago 6 years ago. She is alive. She calls on birthdays. She does not come home. The trains whispered beyond the windows. Nico looked at Lena then, and the danger in him seemed less like power and more like grief that had learned to wear a suit. I learned late, he said, that silence is not peace. Sometimes it is the sound a person makes while disappearing. Lena looked down at her hands. I was disappearing before you met me. I know. No, she said softly. You saw it. He did not deny it. For a while, neither of them spoke. The apartment settled around them. Pipes clicked. Rain touched the glass. Somewhere in the building, an old elevator groaned upward. Lena moved to the window, looking at her reflection. In the dark glass, her face floated over the city lights. Sloane's face. Her face. The same outline. Different ghosts. Nico stood behind her, close enough for warmth, far enough for choice. What do you see? He asked. Lena's throat tightened. Her. No. You cannot tell me what I see. I can tell you when you are lying. She turned, anger rising, but it faded when she saw his face. He was not teasing. He was not commanding. He was asking her to look again. Lena faced the window. This time she tried to separate the features from the history attached to them. The eyes were tired, yes, but they were hers. The mouth had been quiet too long, but it was hers. The face had been borrowed, copied, weaponized, compared, but it had never stopped belonging to her. Her reflection blurred. Nico's voice was low. There you are. She turned before she could lose courage. They were close now. Too close for pretending. Nico's gaze dropped to her mouth, then returned to her eyes, asking without words. Lena wanted to lean in, wanted it with a force that frightened her. But fear and want were tangled together, and she did not trust the knot. I don't know if I want you because I'm free, she whispered, or because I'm scared. Nico did not move. Then we wait. The simplicity of it hurt more than pressure would have. The next morning, Sloane posted a video. Maya sent it first with a message that said, Do not watch this alone. Lena watched anyway. Sloane sat in soft morning light, wearing no visible makeup except the kind that took 40 minutes to look natural. Her eyes were red, her voice trembling. My sister Lena has always been private, she said to the camera. And fragile. I have protected her for years, sometimes from herself. Recently she became involved with a dangerous man, and I am terrified she is being manipulated. Lena's skin went cold. Sloane looked down, then back up. If you know Lena, please encourage her to come home. I love my sister. I will never stop fighting for her. The video spread fast. By noon, strangers had found Lena's old social media accounts. Comments appeared beneath photos she had not touched in years. Your sister loves you. Nico Moretti is using you. You look unstable. This is so sad. The cruel ones were easier to take than the kind ones. The kind ones believed Sloane. That afternoon, Lena insisted on going to the museum to collect her private research notes. Grace had found proof that someone used old donor files to build the forged screenshots, and Lena knew where the original access logs were stored. Nico did not like it. His face made that clear. But he only said Matteo follows from a distance. Lena nodded. From a distance. The parking garage beneath the museum smelled of wet concrete and exhaust. Lena stepped out of her car with her bag against her side and her keys threaded between her fingers, just as Maya had taught her. The lights flickered once. She stopped. A man stepped from behind a concrete pillar. Brent Keller was smaller in person than in the photo, but his eyes were the same. Pale, flat, already bored. "Miss Whitaker," he said, "your sister wants to talk." Lena backed away. Another man appeared behind her. She ran. Brent caught her coat. Fabric tore. Lena twisted, drove her elbow backward, and heard him grunt. The second man grabbed her arm. She bit him hard enough to taste blood. He cursed. A van door slid open. Everything became sound. Her own breath. Shoes scraping concrete. A distant horn. Brent saying, "Get her in." Lena kicked. Her heel connected with someone's knee. A fist struck her ribs, and pain flashed white across her vision. They shoved her toward the van. Then headlights exploded across the garage. An SUV slammed into the van hard enough to fold its side door inward. Matteo stepped out before the vehicle fully stopped. Gun-drawn face calm as winter. "Let her go." Brent reached inside his jacket. Matteo fired once. The shot cracked through the garage. Brent screamed and dropped to the ground, clutching his shoulder. The second man ran. Lena fell against the concrete, one palm slicing open on broken glass. Her bag had spilled beside her. Brent's phone skidded across the floor and stopped near her knee. She grabbed it. Not because she was brave, because she was furious. The screen was still lit. A message from Sloan filled it. "Scare her badly enough that she runs. I'll handle the rest." Lena stared at the words until they stopped shaking. Nico arrived minutes later. He crossed the garage with murder in his eyes. Lena pushed herself upright before he reached her. Blood ran down her palm. Her ribs burned. Her hair had fallen loose around her face. But Brent's phone was in her hand. Nico stopped in front of her, breathing hard. For once, his control had cracks. "Lena." She lifted the phone. "I got proof." Nico looked at the screen, then at her bleeding hand, then back at her face. Something shifted between them in that concrete garage under the flickering lights, with sirens beginning to wail somewhere above. Lena was not the woman waiting to be saved. Not anymore. She was the witness, and Sloan had finally left fingerprints. But Lena knew better than to mistake evidence for an ending. By midnight, Brent Keller was in police custody with a bandaged shoulder, a lawyer he could not afford, and a face full of regret. Grace copied his phone before the police sealed it. Messages, wire transfers, fake accounts, location photos, altered museum files. It was all there, scattered across the screen like broken glass. Still, Nico did not celebrate. He stood at the window of the South Loop apartment, watching Chicago breathe through rain and sirens. His sleeves rolled up, his hands still stained faintly with blood that was not his. Lena sat at the kitchen table while Grace cleaned the cut in her palm. The antiseptic burned. Lena welcomed it. Pain, at least, did not lie. Grace wrapped the wound with careful fingers. "You are lucky. No stitches." Lena looked at Brent's phone lying inside a clear evidence bag. "I am tired of being lucky." Nico turned from the window. His eyes dropped to the bandage, then to her face. "You should rest. I should have rested 20 years ago." No one answered. Matteo stood by the door, silent as stone. Maya had been called, then kept away only because Lena begged for one quiet hour before the storm of her best friend's fear arrived in human form. Grace leaned back in her chair. The phone ties Brent to Sloan, but she can still claim she hired him to find you, not hurt you. The museum emails are strong. The tracker is stronger. The payment trail helps. But if she cries hard enough in front of the right camera, half this city will still believe she was saving her poor, unstable sister. Lena looked at Nico. He did not have to say what he wanted. It lived in the room with them. A private solution. A car with dark windows. A room no one could find. A name erased from every list that mattered. Once that thought might have frightened her. Tonight, it almost tempted her. That frightened her more. No, Lena said. Nico's gaze sharpened. I did not speak. You did not have to. A muscle moved in his jaw. Lena stood slow because her ribs ached from the garage, but steady because some part of her had stopped asking permission. If you destroy her in the dark, she wins. Nico's voice stayed low. She tried to have you taken. And if she disappears, the story becomes whatever people want it to be. Poor Sloan punished by the criminal who stole her fragile sister. Poor Sloan misunderstood. Poor Sloan gone before she could explain. Grace tilted her head. She is not wrong. Nico looked at Grace. Grace raised both hands. I enjoy being employed, but facts are facts. Lena stepped closer to Nico. I want her to explain. She will not. She will if she thinks she has already won. The room shifted around that sentence. Nico studied her for a long moment. What are you asking for? Lena looked down at her bandaged palm. Beneath the white gauze, the cut pulsed with heat. A room, cameras. Police close enough to hear what she says after she forgets she is performing. Grace smiled slowly. Now that is mean. Mateo finally spoke from the door. It is risky. Lena looked at him. So was living quietly. The plan formed before dawn. Nico owned a lakefront property north of the city under the name of a real estate holding company. People in his world called it the Glass House because every wall facing Lake Michigan was made of windows. During the day, it reflected the water. At night, it looked like a jewel box left open beside the shore. It had private roads, hidden cameras, 3 exits, reinforced glass, and a security system Grace described as unnecessarily dramatic, which meant she approved of it. By morning, Lena had sent Sloan a message from her own phone. I am tired. You were right. I need to leave Chicago. I want to talk before I go. Sloan did not answer for 11 minutes. Those 11 minutes felt longer than childhood. Then the reply came. Alone. Lena typed back. Yes. Another pause. Then, send the address. Lena stared at the screen until the words blurred. Nico stood behind her but did not look over her shoulder. You can still stop, he said. Lena almost laughed. That is the first honest lie you have ever told me. It is not a lie. Yes, it is. I can stop this meeting. I cannot stop her. Not unless someone finally sees what she is. Nico came around the table and knelt in front of her. The movement startled her. A man like Nico Moretti did not kneel often. Not in front of enemies. Not in front of power. Maybe not even in church. But he knelt there in the gray morning light so she would not have to look up at him. She touches you, he said. And I come in. Lena held his gaze. If she touches me and I am still standing, you wait. His eyes went dark. Nico. He looked away first. That told her the truth. He could order men to bleed without blinking, but waiting while someone hurt her was the one violence he did not know how to survive. Lena reached out and touched his cheek with her uninjured hand. I need to do this without being rescued too soon. He closed his eyes for 1 second. When he opened them, he nodded. The glass house waited under a hard silver sky. Rain had stopped, but the lake was restless, throwing itself against the rocks below as if it wanted inside. The house sat at the end of a private drive, sharp and beautiful, all glass stone and reflected water. It did not feel like a home. It felt like a confession no one had made yet. Grace arrived first and filled the walls with invisible eyes. Mateo walked the property twice. 2 detectives waited in an unmarked car beyond the gate, close enough to move far enough to let Sloane bury herself. An assistant state attorney listened from a secure line in the surveillance room. Every angle was covered, every microphone tested, every exit watched. Lena watched all of it in silence. Then she went upstairs to change. The red dress lay on the bed. Maya had brought it and hated it on sight. "It is gorgeous," Maya said from the doorway, arms folded. "I hate that it is gorgeous." Lena touched the fabric. Deep red. Simple cut. Long sleeves. No sparkle. No apology. "I need to wear it." "I know," Maya said. "That is why I hate it." Lena slipped into the dress with careful movements. The bandage on her palm looked bright against the red fabric. She pinned her hair back, then let it down. Pinned it again. Let it down again. Maya came behind her and gently took the pin from her hand. "Leave it," Maya said. "You do not need to look controlled." Lena looked at herself in the mirror. For a breath, she saw Sloane. Then the image changed. No, not changed. Separated. Same face. Different woman. Maya's eyes filled. "Do not cry," Lena said. "I am not crying. You are absolutely crying. I am reflecting light." Lena laughed once, and the sound surprised them both. Downstairs, Nico waited in the main room. He looked at the red dress, then at her face. His expression did not soften. It deepened. "You are sure?" he said. It was not a question. Lena answered anyway. "Yes." Nico stepped closer but stopped an arm's length away. "The word is blue." "I know. If you say it, I come in." "I know. If you cannot speak, drop the glass on the table." "I know." He nodded but did not move away. Lena lowered her voice. "Nico." His eyes lifted to hers. "You promised." The words cut him. She saw it. "I did," he said. Then he walked into the surveillance room and closed the door. The house became too quiet. Lena stood alone in the glass room with the lake behind her and a single untouched glass of water on the table. The sky outside darkened toward evening. The windows caught her reflection from every angle until she was surrounded by versions of herself. It should have frightened her. Instead, she looked back. At 6:30, one headlights appeared at the end of the drive. Sloane arrived in a white coat. Of course she did. She stepped out of the car like a woman entering a photograph. Her hair was smooth, her mouth soft pink. No red lipstick tonight. She had chosen innocence as a costume. The front door opened before she knocked. Mateo stood there. Sloane's eyes flicked over him. "Where is Nico?" "Not here for you." Her smile cooled. "Men like you should speak less." Mateo stepped aside. "Women like you usually say that right before they regret being heard." Sloane entered. Her heels clicked over the stone floor. When she reached the glass room and saw Lena in red, she stopped, only for a second. But Lena saw it. Good. Sloane smiled. Red. Really. Lena stood near the table. "I thought it was time I stopped being afraid of a color." Sloane looked around the room, her gaze traveling over the windows, the furniture, the corners, searching for the trap, searching for Nico, searching for control. "Where is your gangster?" "Close enough. That is not an answer. It is the only one you get." Sloane gave a soft laugh and removed her white coat. Beneath it, she wore a cream dress that made her look delicate, almost bridal. Lena wondered how long she had stood in front of a mirror, choosing the outfit that would make her seem most wounded if anyone saw pictures later. Sloane sat without being invited. So she said, "You are leaving." Lena sat across from her. "Yes." The word came out steady. Sloane relaxed by 1 small inch. "Where? California, maybe. Somewhere quiet." "Good." Sloane leaned back. "Chicago has been too much for you." Lena folded her hands in her lap, hiding the bandage. "You were right about that. I usually am." Silence stretched between them. The lake struck the rocks below. Once, twice, again. Sloane looked at Lena's face more closely. "You look awful. I was attacked in a parking garage." Sloane's expression flickered. "That is dramatic. Brent Keller was arrested." Sloane blinked once. Who Lena almost smiled. There it was. Not fear. Calculation. "You hired him." Sloane sighed as if disappointed by bad table manners. "I hired someone to check on you because you have been acting unstable." He grabbed me. "I cannot control what desperate men do. You paid him. I pay many people. You sent him my schedule. Because you were missing." "I was not missing." Sloane's voice sharpened. "You were with Nico Moretti." The name came out like a curse and a confession. Lena leaned back. This was never about saving me. Sloane smiled again, but the softness was gone. "Do not start. No audience tonight." Sloane's eyes hardened. "No tears for the camera?" Lena asked. Sloane stood and walked toward the windows. Her reflection moved beside Lena's in the glass pale beside red. "You think this dress makes you brave?" "No." "You think because a dangerous man looked at you twice, you are suddenly interesting?" Lena let the words pass through her. Once they would have entered and stayed. Tonight there was no room. "I think you came here because you wanted to hear me say I lost." Sloane turned. "Didn't you?" Lena looked up at her sister. "If I leave Chicago, if I quit the museum, if I step away from Nico, will you stop?" Sloane's smile returned slowly. "There." The door opened. "You always make everything sound so tragic," Sloane said. "I am not asking for much. What are you asking for? Reality." Lena waited. Sloane came closer. "You were never built for this kind of life. Men like Nico ruin women like you. The museum was too much pressure. Social attention was too much pressure. Even being my sister was too much pressure." "Being your sister was not pressure," Lena said. "It was a prison." Sloane slapped her. The sound cracked through the glass room. In the surveillance room, Nico moved so fast his chair hit the wall. Mateo caught his arm. "Boss!" Nico's voice was barely human. "Move." Grace did not look away from the monitors. "She is still standing." On the screen, Lena touched her cheek. Her skin burned. Her eyes watered. But she did not look at the floor. Sloane was breathing harder now. "You always do that," Sloane hissed. That wounded little stare. "Like the world has been cruel to you." "Do you know what it was like growing up next to you?" Lena said nothing. Sloane laughed, once sharp and broken. "Everyone thought you were sweet. Quiet Lena. Sensitive Lena. Talented Lena. Poor Lena. I was the loud one, the vain one, the difficult one. You did not even have to try. You just stood there looking fragile and people wanted to protect you. That is not what happened. That is exactly what happened." Lena stood slowly. "Sloane, you took my scholarship night." Sloane rolled her eyes. "We were 16. You kissed Daniel because I liked him. He liked me better. You told Mom I was lying when I said you broke my painting. You cried over everything. You sent fake emails to my job. You were going to lose that job eventually. You put a tracker in my purse. I needed to know where you were. You hired Brent. I needed to scare you. The words landed. Sloane seemed to hear them a second too late. Lena's heartbeat slowed. In the surveillance room, Grace whispered, "Got it." Lena kept her face still. Why, she asked. Sloane's eyes flashed. Because you would not stay where you belonged. Where was that? Sloane stepped close enough that Lena could smell her perfume. Behind me. There it was. The truth at the center of everything. Not madness, not confusion, not sisterly concern twisted by fear. Position. Sloane wanted a world where Lena existed only as comparison. Softer. Smaller. Less. The shadow that made the spotlight brighter. Lena looked at her sister and saw for the first time not a monster, but a starving thing. That did not make her less dangerous. It made her pathetic. "You do not love me," Lena said. Sloane's face twisted. "Love. Do you think love is letting someone ruin herself? No. I think love is not needing someone else to disappear so you can feel real." Sloane's hand clenched. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out a small silver drive. Lena's stomach tightened, but she did not step back. Sloane held it between two fingers. "Do you want to know what is on this?" Lena said nothing. "Messages from your laptop, private files, museum documents, edited videos, enough to make Nico look like he groomed you, enough to make you look unstable, enough to make every headline in this city say exactly what I tell it to say. You would ruin both of us." Sloane smiled. "No, Lena. I would survive. I always survive better than you." "What do you want?" "Money from him. A public statement from you. You tell everyone you lied, you were confused, and I was trying to help. Then you leave." Lena looked at the silver drive. In the surveillance room, Nico had gone very still. Sloane leaned in. "You will stand beside me and tell them I saved you. And if I do not..." Sloane's voice dropped to a whisper. "Then I bury you wearing your own face." The lake struck the rocks. Lena thought of the restaurant, the ivory dress, the red wine crawling down her body while strangers watched. She thought of the museum after closing, the woman in the black dress staring out of her frame. She thought of the blank canvases on her wall, the torn sketchbook pages, the garage floor beneath her bleeding palm. She thought of every time she had swallowed a truth because peace had been demanded by people who were not paying its price. Then she smiled. Sloane frowned. "What?" "Thank you." "For what?" "For doing it where everyone can finally see." Sloane's eyes widened. Red and blue light washed across the glass walls. Outside, police cars rolled up the private drive without sirens. Sloane spun toward the windows. "No." The front doors opened. The detectives entered first. Mateo walked behind them, face blank. Grace followed with a laptop tucked under one arm and an expression of professional satisfaction. Nico came last. He did not look at Sloane. He looked only at Lena's cheek. The red mark there had begun to rise. His hands curled at his sides, but he did not move toward her until Lena gave the smallest nod. Only then did he cross the room. Sloane backed away. "This is illegal. You recorded me without consent." Grace looked up from her laptop. "Illinois law is complicated. Extortion in a house full of attorneys listening live is less complicated." One detective stepped forward. "Sloane Whitaker, you are under arrest." Sloane laughed high and wild. "For what?" "Caring about my sister." The detective began listing charges: stalking, identity fraud, extortion, conspiracy, assault, obstruction. Each word took something from Sloane's face. Polish first, then innocence, then control. She looked at Lena. "Tell them." Lena said nothing. "Tell them this is a misunderstanding." Still nothing. Sloane's voice cracked. "Lena." For years that tone had been enough. Not the cruelty, not the rage. That tone, the sister voice. the one that pulled childhood into the room and made Lena feel responsible for both of them. This time Lena heard it and felt the chain break cleanly. "No," she said. Sloane stared. "No," she repeated as if the word belonged to another language. Lena stepped closer, but not too close. "No, I am not covering for you. I am not softening what you did. I am not calling your violence concern so you can sleep better." Sloane's eyes filled with hatred. "You think he loves you?" she said, glancing at Nico. "You think this makes you chosen?" Lena looked at Nico. He stood near her, close enough to help, far enough to let this be hers. Then she looked back at her sister. "I am not chosen because he saw me," Lena said. "I am free because I finally saw myself." Sloane lunged. Mateo caught her before she reached Lena. For the first time in her life, Sloane looked small. Not weak, never that. But small in the way all false gods become small when people stop kneeling. The detective cuffed her. As they led her toward the door, Sloane twisted back. "You will never know who you are without me." Lena felt the words strike, but they did not enter. She looked at the red dress, at her bandaged palm, at the lake beyond the glass. Then she whispered, clear enough for Sloane to hear. "That is the first thing I am going to learn." Sloane was taken through the front door into the cold night, her white dress washed in police lights, her face stripped of every performance but rage. The room emptied slowly after that. Detectives collected statements. Grace secured the recordings. Mateo spoke quietly with the officers near the door. Maya arrived like a storm, wrapped Lena in both arms, and cursed so creatively even Grace looked impressed. Nico waited. Only when the house grew quiet again did he step beside Lena at the window. Outside, the lake was black and endless. Lena's cheek hurt. Her palm throbbed. Her ribs ached when she breathed too deeply. But she was standing. Nico looked at her reflection in the glass. "I almost came in too soon," he said. "I know. I wanted to. I know." His voice roughened. "I am not sorry for wanting to." Lena turned toward him. "I did not ask you to stop wanting." His eyes searched hers. "I asked you to let me stand." He nodded, once the movement full of things he did not say. Lena leaned into him then, not because her legs failed, not because fear won, but because she chose the warmth of his body beside hers. Nico wrapped one arm around her carefully. Outside, red and blue lights faded down the private drive. Inside the glass house, Lena looked at her own reflection and did not look away. By morning, Chicago had learned Lena Whitaker's name, not the way the museum had known it printed quietly beneath condition reports and acquisition notes, not the way Maya said it when she was annoyed and loving at the same time, not the way Nico said it low and careful, as if her name was something that should never again be handled by careless hands. Chicago learned it through headlines. The first article appeared before sunrise. Twin sister arrested in blackmail plot, linked to Moretti family associate. By 7, the title had changed on another site. Beauty consultant accused of stalking identical twin in bizarre Chicago scandal. By 8:30, her photograph was everywhere. Lena sat at Maya's kitchen table in sweatpants, one of Nico's sweaters, and a silence so thick even Maya did not know how to cut through it. Her phone lay face down beside a mug of coffee she had not touched. Every few seconds it vibrated against the wood. Call, message, notification, call. Maya reached across the table and turned the phone off. "There," she said. "Modern civilization can choke for an hour." Lena stared at the dark screen. "People are going to think I wanted this." Maya's face softened. "Wanted what?" "Attention." The word tasted wrong. Maya sat across from her. "Lena, you were stalked, framed, attacked, and almost kidnapped." "I know." Then why are we worried about the opinions of people who think a comment section is a courtroom? Lena looked toward the window. Outside, a delivery truck rumbled past. A woman in a red coat hurried through the cold with a paper cup in one hand. Ordinary life moved along the street as if nothing had shifted. That was the cruelest part of surviving something. The world did not pause to honor the fact that you had made it through. "I do not want to be the good twin," Lena said. Maya blinked. Lena's voice stayed soft. "They are already doing it. Sloane is the evil twin. I am the good one, the shy one, the fragile one, the victim. It is still her story. I am still being described by where I stand next to her." Maya's eyes filled again, but this time she did not cry. "You are allowed to hate that." "I do." "Good." Lena looked at her. Maya reached for her coffee. "You never hate things out loud." "I support the development." A tired laugh slipped out of Lena before she could stop it. Then the silence came back. It stayed until a knock sounded at the door. Maya stood so fast her chair scraped the floor. "If that is a reporter, I am choosing violence." "It is not a reporter," Lena said. She knew before Maya opened the door. Nico stood in the hallway in a dark overcoat. No entourage, no visible weapon, no expression that could be easily named. Mateo waited near the elevator, giving them privacy while still watching everything. Maya looked Nico up and down. "She has slept 3 hours," Maya said. "She has eaten half a piece of toast. She does not need strategy. She does not need protection disguised as orders. She needs quiet." Nico nodded once. "Then I will be quiet." Maya narrowed her eyes. That was suspiciously reasonable. "I am capable of learning." "Men always say that before disappointing me." "Maya," Lena said gently. Maya stepped aside but pointed at Nico as he entered. "I am 2 rooms away and emotionally unstable." Nico looked at Lena. "Good to know." Maya left them in the kitchen but did not close the bedroom door all the way. Lena noticed. So did Nico. Neither of them mentioned it. He stood across from her table, hands in his coat pockets. The kitchen light made him look more tired than usual. Not weak. Never that. Just human in a way he usually did not allow. "Did you sleep?" he asked. "A little." "Did you eat a little?" His mouth tightened. Lena raised her eyebrows. "Careful." He exhaled once. "I was about to become annoying. You were." I stopped. "You did." A small pause passed between them. It felt almost tender. Then Nico placed a folder on the table. Lena did not touch it. "What is that? Copies of what the attorneys have. Evidence summaries. Charges. Protective order. The museum board has received authenticated materials from Grace and law enforcement. Helen Marsh called me this morning." Lena's eyes lifted. "Helen called you?" "She called my office. She wanted to know whether speaking to you directly would overwhelm you. She asked you that." "She did." Lena looked down. Her throat tightened unexpectedly. Helen had not forced the door, even now. "What did you say I said you should decide?" Lena touched the edge of the folder. "Thank you." Nico looked at her hands. The bandage around her palm had been changed that morning. The skin beneath it pulsed with every heartbeat. "There is something else," he said. Lena's shoulders stiffened. Nico noticed and sat down across from her, lowering himself to her level the way he had the morning before the glass house. It was becoming a language between them. He did not stand over her when something mattered. "The press will get worse for a while," he said. "I know. I can reduce some of it. How pressure?" "Legal threats. Calls to people who owe me." She looked at him for a long moment. "Nico." "I said I can. I did not say I would." "You want to?" "Yes." "Badly." His eyes did not move from hers. "Very badly." Lena let out a slow breath. This was the part of him that frightened her and comforted her in the same dangerous second. Nico could turn the world quieter. He could make doors close, phones stop ringing, men apologize without understanding why their knees felt weak. For a woman who had spent her life unheard, that kind of power had a sweetness to it. It also had teeth. "You cannot threaten the whole world into letting me heal," she said. A faint shadow of a smile touched his mouth. "I could try. That is what worries me." The smile faded. "I know." The honesty sat there, clean and difficult. Lena looked at the folder again. "What happens now with Sloan?" She nodded. "Court, lawyers, more lies if she can afford them. Her attorney will claim emotional distress, family concern, misunderstanding. But the recordings are strong. Brent is already looking for a deal. Grace found the money trail. She is not walking away." Lena absorbed the words without relief. Nico watched her carefully. "That does not make you feel better." "No." Why? Lena looked toward the window. "Because she is still my sister." Maya had gone quiet in the other room. Nico said nothing. Lena continued, her voice almost level. "I hate her. I think I do. Some part of me does. But another part remembers her when we were 7 and she had nightmares and climbed into my bed. Another part remembers sharing cereal from the box while Mom and Dad argued downstairs. Another part remembers that she knows every birthday, every school hallway, every house we lived in. She hurt me more than anyone, and still when I think about her in a cell, I feel—" She stopped. Nico finished gently. "Grief." Lena looked at him. He understood grief. He wore it better than most men wore power. "Yes," she said. "Grief." He did not tell her it was wrong. He did not tell her Sloan did not deserve it. That was why Lena almost reached for his hand. Almost. Instead, she folded her own hands together. "I cannot stay in Chicago right now," she said. Nico's face changed barely, but enough. Maya appeared in the bedroom doorway. Lena looked at them both. "Not forever. I do not know. I just need somewhere quiet enough to hear myself think." Nico was silent for several seconds. Then he said, "I have a house in Carmel by the sea." Maya crossed her arms. "Of course you do." Nico ignored that. "It belongs to one of my legitimate companies. No one knows it matters to me because it does not. It is quiet, small, near the water." Lena studied him. "You are offering me another safe house." "No. What are you offering a key?" The answer stopped her. Nico reached into his coat pocket and placed a single brass key on the table. "No guards inside," he said. "No cameras in the rooms. No one enters unless you ask. Mateo can be nearby or not. Your choice. I can arrange another location if you prefer." "You are not coming." His eyes held hers. "No." Maya's face shifted slightly. Lena looked at the key. A month ago, she would have heard rejection in that word. No, he was not coming. No, she was being sent away. No, she was too much trouble. Now she heard the restraint inside it. Nico Moretti, who solved problems by stepping closer, was choosing distance because she needed space more than she needed rescue. "That sounds hard for you," Lena said. "It is." "Good." He almost smiled. "You enjoy my suffering. I enjoy proof." His gaze softened, not in a gentle way exactly, but in the way winter light softens when it touches stone. "I will be in Chicago," he said, "learning how not to confuse love with control." The word love did not fall dramatically. It arrived quietly like a coat placed around her shoulders without touching her skin. Lena looked at him. Maya vanished back into the bedroom with the speed of a woman pretending not to listen. Nico did not take the word back. Lena did not answer it. Not yet. She picked up the key. Carmel by the sea smelled like salt cypress and wood smoke. The house sat on a narrow street above the water-white walls, blue shutters, a stone path, and a garden that looked like it had learned to survive wind. It was smaller than Lena expected. No marble, no gates, no cold luxury. Just old wooden floors, linen curtains, shelves filled with books, and wide windows facing the Pacific. The first night, Lena slept 14 hours. The second night, she woke at 3 in the morning and cried so hard she frightened herself. There was no reason for it, and every reason. The house was dark except for the moon over the ocean. She sat on the kitchen floor in one of Nico's sweaters, knees pulled to her chest, her bandaged hand pressed against her mouth so the sound would not become too large. No one came running. No one told her she was dramatic. No one asked her to keep the peace. The crying stopped when it was done. That was all. In the morning, she made tea and burned the toast. She ate it anyway because Maya would ask. Then she walked barefoot onto the back porch wrapped in a blanket and watched the ocean move under a pale sky. It did not comfort her. Not at first. People always talked about the ocean like it was gentle. Lena found it brutal, constant, restless. It threw itself against the shore all day and all night, breaking and returning, never embarrassed by the noise of its own survival. By the third day, boxes arrived from Chicago, clothes from Maya, museum books from Helen, art supplies from Nico. The art supplies were not extravagant. That made them worse. Canvas, charcoal, good brushes, turpentine, linen rags, a wooden palette, tubes of paint arranged by color including 3 shades of red. There was no note. Lena stood over the box for a long time. Then she put everything in the small sunroom at the back of the house and closed the door. For a week she did not paint. She cooked badly, walked along the cliffs, ignored most messages, spoke to Maya every night, spoke to Helen twice, spoke to Nico not at all. He texted once every morning. No questions at first. Just, the house alarm is functioning. Then Maya says you ate soup. She is using this as evidence of progress. Then, there is a bookstore on Dolores Street with a terrible crime section and good coffee. Then, no reply needed. That last sentence did something to her every time. No reply needed. It was almost funny how much space could feel like tenderness when a person had never been given any. On the 8th day, she opened the sunroom door. The blank canvas waited on the easel like an accusation. Lena stood in front of it for 20 minutes, then uncapped a tube of red paint. Her hand shook. She almost put it back. Instead, she squeezed a small amount onto the palette. The color looked alive. Wine, blood, dress, police lights, lipstick, shame, power. She dipped the brush. Then she painted one vertical line down the canvas. It was not beautiful. It was not even straight. But it existed. Lena stepped back, breathing as if she had run upstairs. The next morning, she painted another line, then a curve, then a hand, not a perfect hand, not a museum hand, not something to be preserved behind glass. A reaching hand, half-formed, emerging from gray. She worked until the light changed. When she washed, the brush red swirled down the sink and disappeared. For the first time in weeks, she slept through the night. Painting did not heal Lena in the clean way people like to imagine. It did not turn pain into beauty with polite efficiency. Some days it made her worse. Some days she hated every mark. Some days she painted Sloane's mouth by accident and scraped the canvas until the fabric tore. Some days she sat on the floor and stared at her own hands, furious that they had stayed still for so many years. But the work kept calling her back. Not kindly, honestly. She painted a white dress with a red stain, then covered it with layers of blue and gray until only a small red pulse remained near the center. She painted 2 girls facing opposite directions, their hair braided together like rope. She painted a woman standing before black water, her back straight, her feet bare, her face unseen. She painted a mouth opening. That one made her sick. She kept it. Weeks passed in small, stubborn pieces. Maya visited and filled the house with groceries, gossip, and commentary. "This kitchen is too tasteful," Maya said, unpacking oranges. "I do not trust kitchens that look like they have never seen shredded cheese." Lena laughed from the sunroom. Maya appeared in the doorway and stopped. The room smelled of paint and salt air. Canvases leaned against every wall. Some were unfinished. Some were violent. Some were so quiet they seemed to be holding their breath. Maya's eyes moved from one to another. "Oh, Lena." Lena wiped her hands on a rag. "Do not make a face. I am not making a face. You are making the face. I am making a completely different face. You are crying. I am reflecting light again." Lena smiled. Maya stepped closer to the painting of the woman before the black water. "This one," she said softly. Lena looked at it. "I do not know if it is finished. She looks like she is about to turn around." "She is." Maya turned to her. "Is she scared?" "Yes." "Is she going to do it anyway?" Lena looked at the painting for a long moment. "Yes." Maya stayed 3 days. On the last night, they opened a cheap bottle of wine and sat on the porch under blankets while the ocean worked below them in darkness. "Do you miss him?" Maya asked. Lena knew who she meant. "Yes. Do you want me to tell you that is unhealthy? No." "Good. I was not going to. He is terrifying, but he has manners, and that is confusing for my feminism." Lena smiled into her glass. Maya grew serious. "Has he pressured you? No." "Not once, no." "Annoying. That makes him harder to criticize. He sends weather updates." Maya stared. "Weather updates and restaurant suggestions. Once he sent a photo of a dog outside his office. Was it his dog? No. Was it a good dog? Yes." Maya sighed. "Fine. I am cautiously adjusting my hatred." Lena looked out at the dark water. "He said he loved me." Maya went still. "When?" "The morning he gave me the key." "What did you say?" "Nothing." Maya nodded slowly. "That sounds like you." I did not know what to say. "Do you now?" Lena held the wineglass between both hands. "No." The honest answer did not scare her as much as it once would have. Maya leaned her head against Lena's shoulder. "Then do not say anything until you do." A month after Lena arrived in Carmel, Nico came. He did not warn her with dramatic timing. He called first. "I am in California for business," he said. Lena stood in the kitchen looking out at fog moving through the cypress trees. "Are you asking to come by?" "Yes. You could have just arrived." "I know." She smiled a little. "That is progress. I am collecting evidence of character growth. Come at 6. He arrived at 6, exactly carrying no flowers, no jewelry, no grand apology. Only a paper bag from the bookstore cafe she liked. "Coffee cake," he said at the door. The woman at the counter said it was their best. "It is not. I suspected." "Why buy it?" She was very aggressive. Lena laughed, and the sound seemed to loosen something in his face. He stepped inside only after she moved back to let him. The house felt different with him in it. Not smaller, more awake. His gaze moved over the books, the teacup on the table, the blanket over the chair, the paint on the cuff of Lena's shirt. Then he saw the sunroom. He stopped at the doorway. Lena stood beside him, suddenly nervous in a way she had not expected. This was worse than being seen in the red dress. Worse than being seen with wine on her skin. These paintings were not an accident someone had done to her. They were choices she had made. Nico entered slowly. He did not speak for a long time. Lena watched him move from canvas to canvas. He stopped before the painting of the mouth opening. His shoulders shifted. Then before the two girls braided together. Then before the woman facing the black water. "That one," he said. Maya said the same. "She has taste when she is not threatening me." She threatened you again, twice by text. That sounds low for her. He glanced at her, and for one brief second they were just two people in a room full of paint, not a woman with a criminal twin and the man Chicago feared. Nico looked back at the painting. She is turning around, he said. Lena's chest tightened. Yes, toward what I do not know yet. He nodded. Most people would have called that an unfinished answer. Nico understood it was the only honest one. They made dinner together badly. Nico cut vegetables with the precision of a man who frightened other men for a living. Lena burned garlic. He ate everything without complaint until she caught him pushing one blackened piece aside. "You are afraid to insult my cooking," she said. "I have survived worse. That is not a compliment." It was meant as one. No, it was not. No, he admitted. It was not. After dinner, they walked along the water. The fog had thinned. The sky was bruised purple over the Pacific. Waves broke against the rocks below, white and loud. Nico kept his hands in his coat pockets. Lena noticed. "You can hold my hand," she said. He looked at her. "If you want," she added. "I want." "Then ask." His mouth curved faintly. "Lena, may I hold your hand?" She placed her hand in his. It was such a small thing. It felt enormous. They walked in silence for a while. His hand was warm, steady, not tight. "I missed you," Nico said. Lena looked ahead. "I missed you too." He did not make more of it. He did not pull the sentence open looking for hidden promises. That made her brave enough to keep speaking. "I am not ready to come back. I know. I do not know what we are. I know. I hate that you know everything. I do not know everything." She glanced at him. He looked at the ocean. "I do not know how to love someone without wanting to stand between her and every possible wound." Lena squeezed his hand once. "I do not know how to be loved without looking for the trap." He turned to her then. The wind moved through her hair. The last light sat along his cheekbones. He looked dangerous, yes. He always would. But here beside the ocean, he also looked like a man trying to become worthy of the restraint love required. Lena rose on her toes and kissed him, not because fear pushed her, not because rescue confused her, because she wanted to know what his mouth felt like when no one was bleeding, no one was watching, and no one was running. Nico went completely still for one heartbeat. Then his hand came to her waist, careful even in hunger. The kiss deepened slowly. No claiming, no performance, just warmth, breath, salt air, and the strange ache of being touched by someone who had waited long enough for the wanting to belong to both of them. When Lena pulled back, Nico rested his forehead against hers. "I love you," he said again. This time the words did not ask for anything. Lena closed her eyes. "I am not ready to say it. I know. But I feel something," she whispered. "Something real." His thumb moved once across her hand. "Then we start there." Sloan was sentenced 4 months later. By then, Lena had returned to Chicago, but not to the old apartment. Maya had helped her pack it in one furious weekend. Nico offered movers. Lena accepted because carrying boxes down 3 flights of stairs in February felt less like independence and more like poor judgment. Her new apartment was smaller, brighter, and on a quiet street in Andersonville. The windows faced east. In the mornings, light spilled across the floor and touched the canvases stacked near the wall. The museum reinstated her before the trial ended. Helen offered her the same position. Lena surprised them both by asking for part-time. "I want to keep painting," she said. Helen's eyes warmed. "Good." That was all. In court, Sloan wore gray. Not white, not red, gray. It made her look almost ordinary. Lena sat between Maya and Nico. Mateo stood at the back of the courtroom near the doors. Grace sat 2 rows behind with a laptop closed on her knees, looking bored and dangerous. Sloane did not look at Lena through most of the hearing. She stared ahead while attorneys spoke in polished language about harm intent, reputation, psychological distress, and public safety. When the judge addressed the court, Lena listened without absorbing every word. Probation denied, custodial sentence, restitution, protective order, mental health evaluation. Years counted by law instead of childhood. Lena had imagined she would feel relief when the sentence came. Instead, she felt the strange emptiness of a room after screaming stops. As officers prepared to lead Sloane away, her sister finally turned. For a moment, Lena saw the girl who used to climb into her bed during thunderstorms. Then Sloane spoke. "You think this makes you special?" Maya stiffened. Nico's hand remained still near Lena's, not touching unless she reached first. Lena stood. The courtroom seemed to fade around the edges. "No," she said. Sloane's eyes narrowed. "Then what does it make you?" Lena looked at her sister through all the years between them. Birthday candles, broken glass, stolen boys, fake tears, red wine, white dresses, police lights. "Courtroom gray." "Free," Lena said. Sloane's face twisted, but the officers guided her away before she could answer. Lena sat down. Maya took her hand. Nico did not speak. He did not need to. The exhibition opened in late spring. The gallery was small, tucked on a side street in River North between a florist and a restaurant that smelled like butter and garlic. Warm light poured through the windows. Inside, Lena's paintings hung along white walls beneath clean brass fixtures. The collection had a title, "The Woman in the Frame." Lena had resisted the gallery owner's first suggestion, which had been something dramatic about twins and trauma. She refused to turn the show into a crime scene. The paintings were not evidence. They were not explanations. They were not an invitation for strangers to pick through her wounds with wine in their hands. They were hers. On opening night, Lena wore black. Not because red frightened her, because she felt like black. Maya wore emerald and cried before the first guest arrived. "I am fine," Maya said, dabbing at her eyes. "You have said that 6 times. I contain multitudes." Grace arrived with a gift wrapped in brown paper. Lena opened it and found a tiny security camera. "Grace." "It is fake," Grace said. Mostly, Grace smiled. "Congratulations." Mateo stood near the entrance in a dark suit, arms crossed, pretending to scan the street. Lena walked up beside him. "You do not have to guard the door." "I know. Are you guarding it anyway?" "Yes." She smiled. "Thank you." He looked uncomfortable with gratitude. "You painted the garage?" he said. Lena followed his gaze to a canvas near the back. It was not literal. Concrete gray-white light, a dark shape opening like a van door, a red handprint near the lower corner. "Yes." Mateo nodded once. "Good." From him, it was practically a speech. Nico arrived last. Or maybe Lena only noticed him last because the room changed when he entered. He wore a dark suit, no tie, the same kind of controlled stillness he had carried the night of the restaurant. But something was different now. People still made room for him, but Lena no longer wondered whether she had been swallowed by his shadow. She stood in her own light. Nico crossed the gallery toward her. He stopped before touching her as he always did now in public, leaving the choice visible between them. Lena stepped into him and kissed his cheek. A few people noticed. "Let them." Nico looked around the gallery. His gaze slowed at each painting. He had seen many of them before, but not like this. Not framed, not lit, not witnessed. "You did this," he said. Lena followed his eyes around the room. "Yes," she said. The word felt simple and enormous. A journalist approached near the end of the evening, a woman with kind eyes and a recorder in one hand. "Miss Whitaker," she said. "May I ask one question?" Lena's stomach tightened out of habit. Nico's presence warmed the space beside her, but he did not intervene. Lena nodded. The journalist looked toward the largest painting, the woman standing before the black water now fully turned toward the viewer. Her face was not detailed, but her posture held the room. "Is this collection about your sister Lena?" heard the old trap in the question, even if the journalist did not mean it that way. She took a breath. "No." The journalist paused. "Then what is it about Lena?" Looked at the painting. The woman in the frame looked back. "It is about the years after you stopped surviving," Lena said. The journalist lowered the recorder slightly, as if she knew better than to ruin the answer by asking another question too quickly. After the gallery emptied, Lena walked through the rooms alone. Maya and Grace were in the back arguing over whether the champagne had been overpriced. Mateo was outside speaking quietly into his phone. Nico stood near the final painting, hands in his pockets, waiting for her. The final painting was red. Not all red. Nothing that simple. A woman in a red dress stood near a black lake beneath a storm-colored sky. Her face was turned away, but one hand was raised, not in surrender, not in defense, but as if she was reaching toward the first touch of rain. Nico looked at it for a long time. "Is that you?" he asked. Lena stood beside him. "It used to be." And now, she looked around the gallery, at the canvases, at the frames, at the proof of her own hand on every wall. "Now I am the one who painted her." Nico turned toward her. There were things he wanted to say. She could feel them. Beautiful things, probably. Dangerous things. Nico spoke best when his words were almost weapons. Instead, he held out his hand. Lena took it. Later, after everyone had gone home, after Maya had hugged her 3 times and Grace had stolen the last bottle of champagne and Mateo had pretended not to smile, Nico drove Lena through the city. Chicago glittered after rain. The river caught gold from the buildings. Tires hissed over wet streets. Music spilled from bar doors. People hurried under umbrellas, laughing, shouting, living loudly under the same sky that had once watched Lena disappear. Nico did not ask where she wanted to go. He already knew when she looked toward the Gold Coast. The rooftop restaurant was still open. Of course it was. Places like that survived scandal by changing flower arrangements and pretending memory belonged to other people. Nico parked across the street. Lena sat in the passenger seat looking up at the glass walls glowing high above them. "I have not been back," she said. "I know. You say that too often. I am trying to replace it with silence. You are improving." He smiled faintly. Lena opened the car door. Nico came around but did not offer his hand until she reached for it. They entered through the lobby and took the elevator up. The ride felt longer than it had that first night. Back then, she had descended wrapped in his coat, stained and shaking. Tonight she rose beside him in a black dress, her hand steady in his. The hostess did not recognize her. That helped. Or maybe she did and was professional enough to hide it. "Table for 2, she asked. Lena looked at Nico. He waited. "Yes," Lena said, "near the windows." They sat at a corner table overlooking the city. Not the same table. Close enough. The restaurant hummed with soft voices, silverware glass, the low pulse of expensive calm. A server brought water. Lena ordered pasta without reading the entire menu 3 times. Nico ordered wine, then looked at her first. "Red," the server asked. Lena felt the old echo. Then she said, "Yes." The wine came in a deep glass bowl, dark and shining. The server poured. Lena watched the red rise. Her hand did not shake. Across the room, a young woman sat alone at a table smoothing her dress beneath her thighs. She checked her phone, then the elevator, then her reflection in the window. Her face held the nervous hope of someone trying very hard to believe she belonged somewhere beautiful. Lena saw her. Really saw her. The woman glanced over, embarrassed to be caught looking uncertain. Lena smiled gently. Not pity. Recognition. The woman smiled back. Nico watched Lena, not the woman. "What is it?" he asked. "Nothing." That is rarely true. Lena looked out over Chicago. Below, the city moved in rivers of light. The lake waited black and endless beyond the buildings. Somewhere in that city was her old apartment, her museum, Maya's kitchen, the courthouse, the glass house far north along the water, the beginning and the aftermath all layered together like paint. She touched the faint scar on her palm. Then she looked at Nico. "I love you," she said. He went still. For all his power, for all his control, for all the men who feared him, and all the rooms that obeyed him, Nico Moretti looked completely unprepared for happiness. Lena liked that most of all. He reached for her hand slowly, giving her every chance to change her mind even now. She met him halfway. "I love you," he said. "I know." His mouth curved. "Now who says it too often?" She laughed, and the sound rose cleanly between them. No one in the restaurant turned. No glass shattered. No sister appeared at the elevator. No red spilled where it was not wanted. Later, when they stepped back onto the street, the rain had stopped. The pavement shone beneath the lights. Nico walked beside her, close enough that their shoulders almost touched, not close enough to guide her unless she asked. At the corner, Lena paused. The window of the restaurant reflected them both. Once that would have frightened her. Seeing a face that looked like Sloane's. Seeing a man powerful enough to become another Cage. Seeing herself in any glass at all. Now she looked. A woman in black stood beneath Chicago lights with a scar on her palm paint beneath one fingernail, and her own name held steady inside her chest. Not the good twin, not the wrong twin, not the quiet one. Lena Whitaker. She turned from the reflection and kept walking. Beside her, Nico matched her pace. Not ahead, not pulling, not claiming the path, just there. The city opened before them, bright and wet and alive, and this time when the world looked at Lena, she did not look away.